Welcome everyone to this guided practice session presented by the Contemplative Studies Centre at the University of Melbourne. My name is Nick Bowles. I'm a PhD candidate at the centre. We respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the unceded land on which we work, learn and live, the Wurundjeri, Woiwurrung and Bunurong peoples. We pay respect to elders past, present and future, and to any Indigenous people present today. I also want to remind all participants that your well-being is our highest concern, and that by joining the session today, you do so in compliance with the CSC terms and conditions as you indicated when registering online. Please see the chat for more information. And if you are unwilling or unable to comply with the CSC terms and conditions, we respectfully ask you to please leave the session now. We are delighted to welcome back Robyn Gibson to facilitate this meditation series on mindfulness with breathing. Robyn has been practicing and studying meditation for 30 years, predominantly in the Mahasi lineage of Theravada Buddhism. Robyn's approach brings together the radical teachings of freedom through embodied presence that the Buddha taught, deep ecology, and other nature-based practices and creative expression, allowing for inquiry into what it means to live a full and just human life on this earth, and how we face the challenges of our current times with courage and integrity. Please note that the guided practice will be a bit shorter in this first session to allow for an introduction of the key concepts in the tradition. This session is the only one that will be recorded. If you have any questions, comments, or reflections, please place them in the Q&A at any time during the session, and we'll address as many as possible towards the end. Welcome, Robyn.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for hosting, and thank you to the Contemplative Studies Centre at Melbourne Uni for hosting this series. It's great to be back here again. So as Nick just mentioned, I'll give a brief overview this afternoon of the tradition of insight meditation that I practice and teach in. And then I'll give a short introduction as well to the practice that we're going to be engaging in together over the next 5 weeks, the way of letting go, mindfulness with breathing. So I'll give an introduction to that. And then we'll practice together for about 15 minutes today. So what is this method, this tradition of insight meditation? So it's come from Southeast Asian Theravada Buddhism, and many of you will know it as insight meditation, which also is the translation of the Pali word vipassana. So what we practice in Australia today originates from 2 main lineages, one from the Thai forest tradition in Thailand, and the Burmese Mahasi lineage, which I've predominantly practiced in and teach in. So the movement was developed specifically for lay people rather than monastics in Burma at the end of the 19th century, the turn of the 20th century. And its emphasis is particularly on practice and direct experience rather than on ritual. And it's been taken up strongly in the West over the last decades. So some of you might know teachers like Joseph Goldstein and Jack Cornfield, etc. And they've taken this insight meditation tradition to the West. And Christopher Titmuss brought it to Australia. So the term insight meditation, or the Pali vipassana, which literally translates as clearly seeing or seeing clearly, therefore insight, it has 2 meanings. It's a meditation method or range of methods. And it's also, we might say, a modern form of Buddhism. And this form of Buddhism, it's always evolving depending on particular cultural and social conditions, just like all meditation traditions and Buddhist traditions. And so the foundation, as in all Buddhist traditions, is on the Buddha's teachings on ethics, meditation, and wisdom, what we call the threefold training in Buddhism. And like other Buddhist traditions as well, insight meditation has as its goal awakening or waking up, complete release from all wanting, aversion, and delusion. And so to this end, insight meditation utilizes both what we call samatha practices, which develop calm or serenity or concentration. And it also utilizes vipassana practices, which develop insight or this clear seeing. And the focus in the insight meditation tradition is on vipassana insight. So this is central. And in the tradition, we practice in order to deconstruct the mistaken delusions of the mind that get in the way, if you like, of our lived intimacy with life. And these delusions underlie all of our wanting and aversion, our preferences for some things and dislike of other things. So insight, the practice of insight and the aspect of insight allows us to see that all of our experience is in reality fleeting. It's ultimately unsatisfactory. And it's all simply an impersonal flow of events and relationships. And we see this in nature very clearly. And I think this is really contrary to our normal assumptions that our experience and that things endure, they're permanent somehow, and that they are me or that they belong to me. So this insight that we develop in this tradition, it cuts through these delusions about the self. So the method we use to loosen these delusions is satipatthana, what are called the four domains or the four foundations of mindfulness. And these four domains or foundations of mindfulness are based on the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. And we'll be looking at these over the weeks as we practice together. And one of the ways we can apply these four foundations is through mindfulness with breathing, ānāpānasati. And this is what we'll be exploring together specifically in this course. So let's look briefly now at this practice of mindfulness with breathing. So this is the system of meditation that the Buddha most often taught and that he's said to have practiced even after fully awakening. And mindfulness with breathing, when it's practiced regularly, it supports a supreme calming and quietening of the body and mind so that, serenity can arise and insight can arise. And also then what it's allowing us to do is to open to deepening levels of letting go. And what is it we're letting go of? We're letting go of tension and holding on generally. So tension and tightness in the body, holding on in the realm of feeling, and holding on in the mind. All of our thoughts and all of our distorted views and beliefs, they all come under the light of awareness, or come into the light of awareness, if you like. So in this sense, we might say that this practice of mindfulness with breathing is one of deep relaxation. So each in-breath and each out-breath is a symbol of this letting go. Each in-breath breathes us into life, if you like, connects us to life once again. And then we let each out-breath go, emptying into the mystery of life that's, larger than our limited self-sense. So this practice is set out as a series of contemplations on body, feelings, mind, and phenomena, these four foundations of mindfulness. And we start with the most obvious, and that's what we'll be practicing with today, the body and the breathing. And then it progresses by stages through the more subtle territory of feelings, the mental landscape, mind itself, and phenomena or the realities of experience. And as we become familiar with the practice, we notice a particular progression opening up or a natural unfolding occurring, just like the natural rhythm and unfolding of each in-breath and out-breath. So the inhalations and exhalations, what we call the breathing process, they weave like a thread throughout this practice, and they remind us in each moment to be aware. So it's good to remember then that this isn't an exercise in breathing, it's an exercise in mindfulness. And this is why I prefer to call this practice mindfulness with breathing, not mindfulness of breathing. So the body is already here, the breath is already coming and going because we're alive, and we're already aware, we're already awake. But are we aware that we're aware? This is the question that practice brings in this tradition. So sati, mindfulness, is the quality of remembering to be aware of the posture, of the breathing, of what's happening here and now. So hopefully we'll get a sense of this as we practice together. So we tune into the inhalations and exhalations, firstly as a way to generate calm and ease in the body and the mind. And this serenity, this calm that we cultivate, then sets the conditions for insight to arise in its own time. So at the heart of the practice then, we're cultivating both serenity and insight, calm and clear seeing together. As calm develops, we're more likely then to see clearly what's happening moment to moment in experience. And as clear as seeing develops, we feel more and more at ease, serene, peaceful. So in this way, serenity and insight work together. They support each other's maturation. They have to come together in order for us to wake up. And when the Buddha taught this practice, he always prefaced it by saying, when mindfulness with breathing is developed and cultivated, it is of great fruit and great benefit. When mindfulness with breathing is developed and cultivated, it fulfills the 4 foundations of mindfulness. When the 4 foundations of mindfulness are developed and cultivated, they fulfill the 7 awakening factors. And when the 7 awakening factors are developed and cultivated, they fulfill true knowledge and liberation. I think that's a really succinct summary of the practice, of the aims of this practice. These 4 pith statements that the Buddha made, he says, when mindfulness with breathing is cultivated, it brings results, and those results are hugely beneficial. And he says that when ānāpānasati, mindfulness with breathing, is cultivated, it brings the 4 foundations of mindfulness to completion, to their highest potential. And then when this happens, the 7 awakening factors, which are mindfulness, investigation, energy, joy, calm, concentration or collectedness, and equanimity, they're all naturally brought to fruition as well. And with this, true knowledge and liberation is guaranteed. In other words, deep insight and wisdom that's revealed in this radiant, clear mind, it leads to the supreme letting go, the liberation of the heart from all veiling, from all wanting and aversion and delusion. So just before we practice then, just a personal reflection here on this practice. Several years ago, I started studying and practicing mindfulness with breathing as my main practice. And it transformed my practice, actually. I'd always used the breath as a grounding meditation object, but this practice helped me to find a more nuanced approach to practice generally by cultivating serenity and calm in the body and mind first. And this helped open up insight for me in more subtle ways. And importantly, too, for me, it brought feeling and juice into the practice in a way I'd never experienced before. For example, it had never occurred to me previously to cultivate good feeling, what we might call pleasure in the practice, as an ally, as an aid to practice. And this is one of the beautiful things, I think, about mindfulness with breathing. So we'll be exploring this together. And I think that in these times of stress and uncertainty, this practice is really good medicine. And it's good medicine that we can then bring, more effectively into the world as wise and compassionate action and thought. Thought and action into the world. It helps sets us up, to bring more effective action in the world, whether that's within our families, our communities, our workplaces, and the way that we respond to global events. So I'll be talking about all of this as we go, and I hope you find something in this series that sparks your interest, your curiosity, and invites some inquiry into this practice of mindfulness with breathing. So let's practice together now. So we'll be sitting for about 15, 17 minutes or so. So choose a comfortable posture here in which to place the body. And let awareness settle in the body now. Bring awareness into the body. So be aware of how you've placed the body. Let yourself arrive here. And let the body settle on the cushion, bench, or chair. Resting awareness in the whole body. Secluding the body. And just as you've secluded the body by taking up this posture of meditation, so you can seclude the mind by making an intention to set aside any concerns, worries, responsibilities, and planning for now. You can pick these up again later. Letting the eyes gently close if that's comfortable for you. Or if you prefer to keep the eyes open, let the gaze be soft. And make any final adjustments to the posture so that the body is steady and settled here. Feel the weight of the body yielding to the force of gravity as it draws you earthwards. Becoming aware of the contact points the body makes with the surfaces under you. And bring steadiness to the mind by reminding yourself of the universal wish of all beings for freedom and ease. Keep this in mind as you bring awareness to the heart space. You might offer a verbal aspiration into the space of the heart, like, may all beings be at peace. Or allow this thought that all beings want freedom and ease to touch you. Let yourself open and soften to a sense of universal friendliness, goodwill, warmth, as much as possible, to help settle and steady the heart and mind. And bring alertness to the body by sensing the supple length of the spine, holding you tall and upright in space. And at the same time, let the spine be soft, relaxed. And bring alertness to the mind by sensing the condition of the mind right now. Be aware that you're aware. Know that you're present with this here now. And in this condition, is there a sense that the mind is bright, alert, perhaps soft, receptive? You might sense some openness, an expansive quality, spaciousness in the mind. Just noticing how the mind is right now. And maintaining awareness of the whole body sitting here. And within the frame of the body, be aware that the body is breathing. The breathing is already happening. Aware each in-breath and each out-breath. Notice the distinction between inhalation and exhalation as part of this whole body awareness. So not needing to do anything with the breathing, simply following each in-breath, each out-breath, just as you find it, just as you feel it in the body. And if you're unable to find the breathing in the body at the moment, or if the breath doesn't feel suitable for you as a meditation object, let awareness be with the whole posture and the field of sensations coming and going in the body. And at some point, the in-breath and out-breath might appear to you. So let the breath come to you rather than you going looking for the breathing. So not forcing anything to happen here. Now be aware of the qualities of the breathing. Is this breath long or is it short? Is the inhalation long and exhalation short? Or is the inhalation short and the exhalation long? Or are they equally long or equally short? Getting curious here about the breathing. not taking anything for granted. Is the breath fast or slow? Is it heavy or light? Is it broad or narrow? Is the breath smooth or jagged right now? Free flowing or obstructed in some way? Getting to know the breathing as it's appearing to you right now. Is the breath comfortable or uncomfortable? If the breath doesn't feel comfortable, adjust it until it does. So be curious and playful here. Experiment. For example, you might change the length of the in-breath or the out-breath, or both. Or you might change the intensity of the breath in some way. Let it be lighter and softer, for example. Or simply keep following the natural in-breath and out-breath. As you keep observing or playing with the breath, see if you can find a degree of easiness in the breathing here. And if or when you feel some degree of easiness in the breathing, note this sense of ease. Let yourself rest into it. Continuing to follow each in-breath and out-breath. And let any sense of ease you find here spread outwards to all parts of the body or to more parts of the body. See if you can feel the breath energy, filling the whole body. This breath energy is air element. It's part of nature. You might feel it as movement, oscillation, vibration, tingling, pulsation, or as a body. No, this is the life-giving force of breath, of air element. Even if you don't feel it, you might imagine or visualize air element filling the body. Know that it's already here in each and every cell of your body. You don't have to make anything happen. And it's common that whole body awareness will keep shrinking. So with kind attention, keep expanding awareness out to include the whole body. Breathing in, breathing out. Or awareness might even extend beyond the body, beyond the skin boundary. What we normally think of as where we end and the world begins. So play with awareness here and your ability to stretch it for it to be open and spacious. Whole body breathing in, breathing out. Let any thoughts that arise in the mind come and go. Let them flow through the space of the mind, just as the breathing flows through the body. And if thinking arises, note where the mind has drawn your attention, perhaps gently labeling it thinking, thinking. And without berating yourself, because this is what the mind does, it thinks. Shepherd attention back to the body, sitting here, breathing. And let yourself rest here. Let go any areas of tension in the body, tightness, holding on. Letting all bodily activity settle down, be soothed, cool, peaceful. Let the body be quiet, the breath quiet. And be aware that as the breath softens and becomes calm, so the body softens and becomes calm. And as the body becomes calm, so the breath becomes calm, at ease. Body and breath conditioning each other. And rest in any calm and ease present here. Savor it as much as possible. Let it nourish the body, let it nourish the mind. So thank you for your practice, everyone, and thank you for being here today. And Nick, I'll hand over to you now for questions, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.
Thank you, Robyn. So we have about a little bit over 5 minutes. So if anyone has any questions or comments, they're welcome to put those into the Q&A. So we have a few kind words here, and we also have a question. So a question about the whole body seems to vibrate with the sense of the heartbeat. I know this is something that I experience when I practice meditation as well. The heartbeat can feel very prominent in our awareness, in our experience. So the question is, how do I quieten that that sense? So any comments you might have on that, Robyn, would be appreciated.
Yeah, it's interesting when we quieten down in the body, we start noticing the more subtle activities going on in the body. And sometimes this is very soothing, and sometimes it can kind of bring a certain sense of anxiety or agitation. So I guess it's a matter of playing around with that. If it's and not knowing the inquirer's actual experience. Yeah, so if it's something that feels soothing, then you can just focus on that for a while, and then just keep coming up back to the breathing as the anchor, as the home base, if you like. If it feels like it's creating a sense of agitation or anxiety, I'd suggest one way you might play with that is to widen awareness out to this whole body, or even beyond the body. Give awareness more space, and then feel the contact of the body with the surfaces under you, with the floor, and just see if that wider field of awareness just helps settle things down. Often with an excess of energy, we tend to, we can get tight around things, but with an excess of energy, we want to widen awareness out and give that energy plenty of space to do its thing. And eventually the heartbeat will soften, it'll settle if you keep practicing. And often, environmental things like having had a few coffees this morning or whatever, all these things can play into that. So don't worry about it. I think it's just that we start to get more sensitive to what's happening in the body as we settle down and start meditating. So just let it be there, and keep coming back to the sense of the whole body, sitting and breathing, and then see what happens. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Robyn. We have a few more questions here. One, which is very common, one that comes up in meditation. Listening to your voice, Robyn, it's very soothing. The instructions to, rest awareness in the body, it can feel very relaxing, and that's kind of the point.
Mm.
But relaxation can sometimes tip over into drowsiness and maybe even drifting off to sleep. So I
Yeah.
wonder if you have any specific kind of
Mm.
pointers or strategies for dealing
Mm.
with
Mm.
sleepiness.
Mm. Thank you. Yes, a very common question. And again, when we sit down to meditate and get quieter and more relaxed, the body can take that as an indication. Oh, okay, now it's time to drift off. So one thing we can do is to bring some more brightness to the breathing. So actually bring more, a little more intensity to each breath, or more consciousness to each breath, if you like. And I know, in that instruction, I was saying don't play with the breath in the beginning. It was just about actually noticing what's here in the breathing. But if we're feeling drowsy, we can actually bring more brightness to the breathing, to the in breath especially. So the in breath is more active, so we can bring more awareness and more brightness to the in breath as a way to wake up. We can also open our eyes and let more light into the eyes. That's one good way of bringing more energy into the body. And you can also bring awareness back to the sense of the whole body in contact with the earth, and the contact points. So bringing more activity to the mind, I guess, giving something else for the mind to do. If the breath is bringing drowsiness, keep bringing within, perhaps between each breath. So in breath, out breath, feel the body in contact with the surfaces under you. In breath, out breath, feel the body in contact with the surfaces under you. So all these little tricks can help activate and brighten the mind. They're just a very few that might be helpful. And then again, environmental conditions, we can, maybe practice in a cooler room, or stand up and practice is a really good way to actually bring some more energy into the body rather than sitting down. Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you.
Robyn.
Yeah, thank you for the questions.
So we're nearly out of time. We have a number of other questions here. Maybe I'll just mention quickly one question about thoughts. So a participant, I'm guessing there was other participants who had this experience as well of having a lot of thoughts come up during the session. We only have a very short amount of time left, but just the question is, how do I quieten my thoughts? So
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. The mind thinks, and so we can't control that. But as we go over through this course, in fact, next week we'll be talking more about thinking, feeling, and thinking. So it might be a good one to leave until next week to go into that more. But essentially, when thoughts arise, it's about our response to them. It's not making them go away. Meditation isn't about stopping thought happening. It's about our response to the thinking. So again, we'll be playing with this next week. So perhaps we'll delve into that more deeply than that next week. So yeah, it's a very common assumption to make that when we come to meditate, we have to stop thinking. But actually, it's more about what we do with the thinking, how we respond to the thinking that's coming up. So I'll just leave it there because I know we're out of time. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Robyn. And there's a lot of kind comments in the Q&A. So it sounds like a lot of people really appreciated the session. So thank you so much for facilitating today's session, and to all of our audience for joining us, and particularly for the questions and comments. And we hope to see you again next week.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week. Thanks, Nick.